Well, I think the main challenges that we all face at the beginning is that we don't believe in ourselves enough. I think when you are shy, you are
Mm.
always thinking, what are people thinking of me? What this and what that? If you can take action, as you said, consistently, persistently, you will win. It's just felt like freedom.
Yeah.
And so I just want to go back to my younger self and say, actually, it's so much easier than you think. I realized in that moment, I didn't want to be somebody else's bitch.
Hey, welcome to Property Investment Blueprint Podcast. I am with Stephanie Taylor. It's one of the biggest rent-to-rent property investors. I am super delighted to have you on Property Investment Blueprint Podcast. How are you?
I'm amazing. Rahim, it's amazing to be on. And I've known of you for many years. We were talking earlier that we met 4 years ago in
Yeah,
Cardiff. And it's been great seeing you grow so big. And I went on your YouTube channel earlier. It's fantastic. So
thank you.
it's great to be on your show.
Thank you. Thank you. For the people that do not know you, what is your contact from your earliest years? I need to understand Stephanie.
Wow, that's a great question.
Thank you.
And I listen to a lot of podcasts, Rahim. I love a podcast. And you hear people saying, I was always an entrepreneur at school. I was selling this, I was wheeler dealing. I always knew that I was going to be successful in business.
Yeah,
And that just wasn't the case for me. I was not somebody who had that inbuilt confidence in business, quite the opposite. I would look at business situations and think that's for them, that's for other people, that's for people with information, that's for people who've got a background, that's for people who've got the network.
yeah.
And growing up as a girl, I was quite shy. And I used to read a lot of books because I realized when you're reading, your mom doesn't ask you to do any chores.
Good excuse.
No, I loved reading genuinely. And I've always loved learning. I had my son Alex when I was 18, just about to turn 19. And so life got very complicated then, or just was a bit harder. It felt like pushing a boulder uphill and really struggling to move that inches forwards, and only to, if you gave up for 1 minute, you found yourself falling back again.
Yeah.
And so that's why in the last few years, when I found more success in business and financially, I found more peace in my life and been able to pass some of these knowledge on to my son.
Mhm.
Um, it's just felt like freedom.
Yeah.
And so I just want to go back to my younger self and say, actually, it's so much easier than you think.
Mhm.
And that's one of the reasons that I've been so passionate about going out and speaking on podcasts and speaking on videos, even though I'm a naturally a quieter or shyer person, because I want people to know, yeah, this is a true thing that you can actually make money from property without buying it.
Wow. Okay. So take me back then. When you were young, what was your aspiration growing up?
Yeah. Um, it's so funny. I did okay at school actually. And but I think that was one of the problems. I didn't have a clear aspect of what I needed to do. The only sort of dream I had was I loved books so much
Mhm.
that it would have felt really magical to be an author. But it wasn't a dream in the way that people have goals nowadays, where you think it's something that's going to happen. It was just something I thought, wow, it would be amazing to be able to write a book.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So what was your favorite subject? I
What's
bet.
my favorite subject? Wow, I've never been asked anything like this. Well, I think there was two favorites, and they were both really to do with the teachers. And one was Mrs. Boots, and she was my English teacher, and she really saw something in me, and she encouraged me in a different way. She noticed me, she could see me because I was one of the in my junior school days, I was one of the quieter ones, but she noticed me and saw something in me. And Mr. Cushing, he was a chemistry teacher, and people didn't really like Mr. Cushing too much. They liked Mrs. Boots. She was very lovely and warm and happy and friendly. But
Yeah.
Mr. Cushing was a little bit more sort of austere and abrupt. But he was very good at chemistry, and he sort of showed the artistry in experiments, and you could try things out and put this thing with that thing and what would happen. And so I loved the art and magic of chemistry because of Mr. Cushing.
Wow, brilliant, beautiful subject to like, to be honest. So thanks for sharing that with us. So how was home like at your young age? How was your family like as a daughter of a are you twins or you're just sisters?
It's sisters, yeah,
Sisters.
yeah. Yeah, as you know, I've got my sister Nikki. So I'm the eldest by 2 years, and so my dad was in the army, in the British Army, and he moved around. We moved around with him until we went to school. So my sister was born in Germany. Then we moved to Birmingham. We settled down in Birmingham. We had a really nice family life until and we had both sides. So my mum was very practical, an amazing cook, could do sewing, could make things. In the 1970s, people used to make stuff.
Yes.
Women used to make things. And so we had all that on the one side. My dad was more of he was in the army, and he'd been through that system. He understood all about rules and etiquette, and sort of he understood a different way of seeing the British society,
Yeah.
which was handy for us to learn.
Mhm.
And he also was a bit more of a philosopher. He encouraged he encouraged us to think for ourselves, and not just my mum was more of a because I said so kind of a person. My dad was more of a what do you think about this sort of person. So it was a great partnership while they were married.
Wow, beautiful. I commend him for that, because being an army personnel, you've got these strict rules to follow and all that sort of thing. So it's good to know that. So you said you were quiet when you are in school, or when you are going to school. Were you bullied in school?
Well, it's funny. I've never talked about this on any show. Nobody's ever asked me. And I was bullied a little bit because I just, some people, I don't want to blame the victim, but sometimes if you're a bit quieter, people, bully you. And I used to wear braces, and I had these huge two goofy teeth at the front.
Yeah.
There was a mile gap in between my two front teeth.
I
And
know.
I had various different braces to bring all my teeth into alignment together, and so it would be like Jaws. That was one of my nicknames. And yeah, so yeah, I was bullied a bit, but not beaten up and in the way that people can really be bullied
Right.
hard.
Does that transform you in a way that you become really resilient today, or being able to go through tough times?
I don't know if the two are connected, but yeah, I can go through tough times, and I am um courageous and optimistic. Um, I always feel like I'm going to get through it. It's not that I'm never sad. I am sometimes sad. Sometimes you can't see your way through. But I am one of those people that in the morning I always think, you know what, it's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate that answer. Some people say traditional education is dead and redundant, relevant, irrelevant. Well, what is your viewpoint on that?
Well, if you mean by traditional education, paying a lot of money to go to university,
Correct.
Um, I think it is redundant for many professions, or for the ambitions of many people, it is redundant. So if you want to start and grow an incredible business, for example, there's so many ways to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And having a traditional education might not be it. If you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or that sort of thing, a professor, then you probably need to go through that traditional education. And I think it depends what you enjoy, because there's more to education than helping you get the job, going through that process. So if you're somebody who is young, and your family or whoever can finance that for you, and it's going to be a good experience for you, i.e. you're going to enjoy that process, then maybe it's for you. If you're somebody who just wants to get out there and start making it economically, financially, and find your purpose doing that, and become the person who creates the jobs, then absolutely, we're seeing so much more that is the way to go as well.
Yeah, I really do agree with you on that. You get me to remember when I finished uni, because I did accounting and finance. I was told, do accounting finance, you get yourself a nice job, you go work in the city and stuff like that. So what I soon realized when I started was they had to train me and teach me everything, right? I was thinking, why did I have that degree if I was going to get taught again or taught again about how to do everything? Then I asked my director then, I said, what was the point to go to uni? He goes like, it's to get you through the doors, mate. That's it. And it gets me thinking, really, was it really worth me going through uni, going through all that hustle and getting that debt on top of me and all that sort of thing? That really gets me to start thinking maybe what people were saying was kind of true. But as you said, being a doctor, a nurse, a pharmacist, perhaps you need to go to uni for that. But you wanted to be an entrepreneur, wanted to be a businessman. Maybe you want to get someone who's doing what you're doing, get them to mentor you, or maybe shadow them or work for them. I think that would give you a better, valuable knowledge and implementation than probably going to uni to learn about it. Because I've never been taught at uni how to basically invest or use money. I was trained to become an employee,
yes,
rather than become an entrepreneur or a business person. So I really, really relate to that, especially when you're answering that question. So thank you. Can you share your journey from thinking property investment wasn't for you due to lack of connection to co-founding HMO Heavens and managing properties worth over 2 million?
Yeah, wow. And the properties that we manage have grown so much more since even we wrote that. But one thing that just came to mind as you were speaking was I was listening to a podcast the other day. I love podcasts. And it was called My First Million. And the guy had on his show a woman who'd bought an egg carton business. And she was speaking to somebody at this high fancy university in America. And she noticed he was very responsive. If she sent a text or an email, they were in a group project together. And she said it was almost annoying. She says, why are you so responsive? And he said, Goldman. And he meant Goldman Sachs. And they have 15 minutes to reply on the same mechanism by which they get the message. So if it's text or email or whatever it is, 15 minutes to reply. And she said, what if your wife's in labor? 15 minutes. What if you're in the shower? 15 minutes. What if you're getting married? 15 minutes. And she said, I realized in that moment, I didn't want to be somebody else's bitch.
Whoa, I like that.
And I thought,
yes,
it's just, most jobs are not 15 minutes, okay? But most and many jobs, especially today when people can work from home, have got all sorts of high expectations that you're going to be checking in all times of the day and night, and that your life does not belong to you. It belongs to them, and that's what they're paying you for in your salary. And so I think whenever we're thinking about anything like this, and what you're doing, Rahim, is letting people know that there's other options, and that even on the side of your job that you can have other options. So how I went from not thinking that any of this was my world to like founding several successful businesses is I had a moment, and I think every big life change, it starts with a simple decision. It starts with an idea. It all starts in your mind. And mostly we have the idea in our mind and we never take action on it. But I had an idea in my mind, and it was so strong, the urge and the impulse. And, it was like one of those ideas where you have it in your mind and you can feel it in your belly. You just know that this is your future. And what it was that my mum had got ill and called me in the morning. And I was trying to dash her off the phone because I had a presentation.
Wow.
And you know, when somebody starts to apologize, no, sorry to disturb you, oh, and you get off the phone. And then in the afternoon, after my presentation, I was at my desk thinking, oh, see how well it went, see how clever you are, Stephanie. You know, your boss said that it went well, and the questions and the interaction. I was just giving myself a mental pat on the back and thinking how great I was. And then it just did a flashback replay of this conversation with my mum in the morning. And you know, your intuition comes to you and says, oh, she was feeling scared and lonely, and you dashed off the phone. And who do you want to be? What kind of person are you? You know, if you've got to make a choice, if you said, is your mum more important or your job, you would probably say your mum, but in actual fact, it's your job.
Absolutely.
And I just thought to myself in that moment, the bank will be absolutely fine without you, but your mum won't. And also, I want to be the person who is there for my mum. When I'm on my deathbed, I know that what's going to be important to me is my relationship with my family, my loved ones, and all of that. It's not going to be what did I do for Lloyd's Bank or whatsoever bank, because I know that they're going to carry on absolutely fine without me. And that's not to say that you don't do a good job in your job. Absolutely, you do a good job in your job. But I just realized, and I just thought to myself, how do people do this who don't have to go to work? What are they doing? And I knew it was something to do with business. And I know this sounds very naive, but I thought, I don't know what they're doing to do with business that can replace a salary, you know, a decent salary.
Yeah.
And I knew that I could have had a hobby business. I've seen people do that, but they're really struggling and it's not really working for them. So I thought, I need to find out how to replace my salary with a business that I can do. And I know that I'm not sophisticated in business. I don't know all these things. So I was struggling to think, what could I do that could be successful?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Wow. That's a really inspiring story. Again, it's like you're speaking my language there. The same thing occurred to me as well was I used to work as an accountant, but I used to work ridiculous long hours. I'll tell you that now. I used to work from 8 in the morning and almost literally 6 at night and almost 6 days a week as well. But one Saturday I woke up in the morning, I had an epiphany, I would say. I woke up, I thought to myself, what if I get run by a boss? What if I fall ill? What if one of my son fell ill? I have to look after them. I thought my company will look after me for a couple of months, but perhaps that will be the longest they could look after me. And then after that, I'm on my own. Then I had that striking moment that tells me at that time, I was only making money whilst I work. And then I thought to myself, maybe I could do something else. Maybe I can go and become a chartered accountant. Maybe that would help. I went on, doubled down, did my chartered accountancy, only to find out, really, I'm getting the rope tighter in my neck. And I realized it wasn't helping. So I thought to start thinking about how I can make money work for me instead of me working for it. And I started looking because I was told at college, at university, not to copy anybody, because that was my barrier, basically. As an accountant, when you're doing these exams, you're not allowed to literally copy anyone. You have to literally get it right, right? So then I start thinking about how can I make money work for me? And what are other people doing? What are other organizations doing? What are other companies doing? So back then I was working for a corporate world. I was working for an investment bank. I thought to myself, okay, we have Deutsche Bank, we have JP Morgan and Chase, we have Lloyd. They're kind of doing the same thing, right? Then I thought to myself, are they not copying each other? Surely they are, right? And then I looked at eBay. I said, okay, eBay. Oh, we've got Amazon. Actually, and we've got Alibaba. Then I start bringing these dots together. And then what really then really gets me to literally say I've been brainwashed at uni was when I start thinking about supermarkets. I said, they all sell exactly the same thing. They copy each other, right? Maybe the ingredients are not exactly the same quantity or quality, but they're selling the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, you know what? I need to take my financial situation into my own hands, to make my financial independence my duty, responsibility, and obligation. And look for someone that I can copy to the dot to get me to where I want to go. So that was my epiphany moment for me. Since that day, that moment, that time,
Yes.
I take that responsibility. So it has transformed my life, because that was a scary moment to be in. So I can relate to when you said your mom rang you. You're thinking about work. You love your mom so much, but you've got bills to pay for, right? You've got to present that presentation. I can see how you could use that as a positive energy to get you to where you want to go. So really appreciate you sharing that with me.
No, I totally agree. And going on that journey, you just realize that the energy you think, like I thought, oh, I couldn't run a business, but actually the same exact energy that you were putting into making your accountancy firm better, making your investment bank better with your accountancy services that you're providing paid for salary, and me with my contractor services, the same energy I'm putting into that, I can put into my own business. And it just gives you as well a purpose, a feeling of freedom, a feeling of choice, and the actual opportunity of choice. About more so about what you do with your time than you do when you're working 24/7 for somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about challenges. What were the biggest challenges you faced when you started in property investment, and how did you overcome them?
Well, I think the main challenges that we all face at the beginning is that we don't believe in ourselves enough, and also other people are quick to tell you all the reasons why it won't work, and the things that they're saying to you are true. So you haven't got experience, you haven't done business before. What if the landlords do this? What if a tenant does that? What if all of these things could happen? So it's not like they're making it up and lying to you. It's like, and I think at the beginning I found it really hard. I had this fire in my belly to do it at the same time, and I had this level of certainty that I would be successful, but at the same time I was still scared. And from working with people over the years, what I see is that sometimes they let the fear mean that it's wrong. They let the fear mean that, oh, I shouldn't do this. So I think you've got to let the fear mean this is just a normal part of life. Until I acclimatize to this level of success, then I might be fearful. So I think that was the first one. And I think the second one, because people don't like, or people prefer to get something more practical. They don't like it when you talk about mindset stuff, because they think, well, I won't be scared. I won't be scared. It'll be fine for me. But most people are scared at some point when they're starting a new business. But the other thing was that they're dealing with people. So they're asking for properties, speaking to agents, speaking to landlords, managing tenants who might do naughty things, and having the belief in yourself to be able to communicate in a way that is persuasive to other people.
So how are you able to overcome the challenges?
I think the number one challenge in your head is just every single day. I was listening to YouTube channels like yours, listening to podcasts like yours, and just having it over and over go in my mind that people are succeeding in this. Ordinary people are succeeding in this. And that helped me to overcome those fears. And when it comes to relationships with people, I think it's an inside out job. So on the one hand, you got to have the thoughts and be conscious of thinking, I can do this. I can get my first property. You might not be able to believe I can own a multi-million-pound property portfolio on day one, but you might be able to believe I can manage a property and do a good job of it. They would be lucky to work with us and things like that. So I just started increasing the intensity of the things I believed about myself and my property business, so that when I communicate with someone, they can feel that energy. They can feel that I believe I can do it, rather than, when you speak to people and they feel afraid.
Yeah.
And even though they don't say that, it's communicated to you just by the level of their voice or how their body is. You can feel it. If somebody is in belief,
Yeah.
it comes across in a different way. And so that was something I had to learn, because I think when you are shy, you are always thinking, what are people thinking of me? What this and what that? And when you become more inner confident, you're thinking about how you can help people, how you can listen to people, how you can be there for people. And it puts you into a different state, a state of mind where people do listen to you, where people do want to know what you think, and where people do believe you.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with me. So I can tell, because as I said, action speaks louder than words. So your body language, I think they said, is it 90 or 75%?
Yeah.
What you say. So if they can see the genuinity in you and they believe in you, why should they not believe in you? Because if you believe in you, everybody else will believe you, basically. So at the beginning, I understand where you've got this skeptics going around saying you might not do this, this is not for you, it's too painful. And why would you leave your 9 to 5 job? You got your fixed salary all the time. You don't have to worry about not getting paid and all that sort of thing. I do understand that. Sometimes you'll be thinking, oh, I might as well. But entrepreneurs like yourself are the ones that gets people to believe that they could really achieve whatever they've set themselves to achieve. You mentioned this strategy of rent to rent as a transformative approach. Could you explain the concept for our listeners and how it can be a game changer for those looking to invest in property?
Yeah. And you do this as well, don't you, Rahim?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So rent to rent is like buy to let, but buy to let, you have to pay 50,000 pounds, possibly more, for the deposit and what other buying costs, maybe refurbishment, to buy a property. And then at the end of it, you make 200, 300 pounds a month.
Yeah.
So with rent to rent, it's very similar to buy to let, except you rent the property to rent it out again. So you only need sometimes nothing at all, sometimes a few £100s, sometimes a bit more, but you need a small amount of money. And from every property that you do, you make over £500 a month. Some of our properties make over £1,000 a month. So you only need a small number of properties. And there's two main ways to do rent to rent. One is to rent properties out by the room, like an HMO, house of multiple occupation.
Yeah.
Student let, where everybody's got, although we do it with professionals, but it's like a student let, where everybody has their own bedroom and then they share a kitchen, and sometimes they might have their own bathroom, or they might share bathrooms. But on those properties, you're renting it out individually by the room. You're using existing HMOs, so they're already set up this way, and it's a way for you to be able to make money without needing to buy the property.
Well, I think that is a really good strategy, because to be honest with you, that's the strategy that got me started in the first place. As I said, when you start, you always got these people telling you can't do it. I was told I need 200,000, 300,000 to start in my property investment journey. I was thinking, how much money how many years do I have to save to get even £50,000? But obviously, I bumped into rent to rent. When I saw it, I thought it was too good to be true. But you're absolutely right. It's a strategy that would really, anybody can do it, basically. Anybody can do it who's got the right frame of mind, the right mentor coach to guide them. It's one of the best ways to start your investment journey, because that's what I was able to use as a starting point to get me to start investing, buying my own properties, and having an estate agency and a renovation company. So I really, really relate to that. Literally, I love that strategy. So thanks for sharing that with me. Your journey is very inspiring. What motivated you to shift from 9 to 5 job to property investment, and how has that changed your life?
Yeah. Oh gosh, how's that changed my life? It's just changed everything. I was just a person who was going to work and living life outside, thinking that was it. But now we've we've built up our own rent-to-rent portfolio. We've got a team in who manage those properties. We bought a property portfolio because there's lots of different ways to use other people's money, OPM.
Yeah.
And there's lots of different ways to use OPM, but also we've got our own cash flowing business as well. So we can use our own money and other people's money. And we bought a portfolio of properties, mainly blocks of flats. So some of them were blocks of flats where we bought an office and converted it into 4 flats. We've got a big house that we converted into 4 flats. And we've got a block of 12 flats that we converted. Sorry, it was already converted, but we'd done them up. And when you convert the blocks of flats, you increase the value.
Yeah.
Because they're on a commercial valuation that's based on the rental income. So when we bought the block of flats, it had a rental income of £44,000. And the valuation was 440k. But we got it for £375,000. And now the same property, the rental income is £66,000.
Wow.
And the valuation is 660,000. And we're in Wales, like you, so properties don't go up usually that quickly. So it's an incredible strategy. And to think I would be here, on a podcast or anywhere talking about owning this property or these properties, it still blows my mind, because what I want people to understand who are listening is it's only a few years ago, that we were just starting out, not long before we met you.
Yeah. I do remember that. So what advice would you give to someone from a Black or ethnic minority background who is interested in property investment but might feel intimidated?
Yeah.
Either because they don't see that type of people in it, or
Yes.
financial, or the knowledge barriers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's one thing that is totally for sure. There is discrimination. There are people who do not want you to succeed. That is absolutely a fact. What I say to you is, do not be one of them. Do not be one of the people who don't want you to succeed. Do not count yourself out before you even start, because you can succeed. And all of those people who thought you couldn't do it, you could laugh in their face. But do not let what you think other people think stop you from taking the actions, because the simple steps that you see Rahim taking, you see me taking, you see other people in the community taking, these are the same simple steps that you can take, and you can absolutely have the success that you want. And I even go further than that and say, you will be surprised by the success that you have, because you might just think that you want to just buy your own small portfolio, start off in rent to rent, buy your own small portfolio, and then you end up doing something much, much bigger than that.
Absolutely. You also get me thinking here. Before I started my property investment journey, I had these barriers as a beginner, thinking, oh, I wasn't born in this country. People don't understand my accent.
Yes.
And plus I'm young, I'm Black from London.
Yes.
Who the hell is going to give me their property? So I had that barrier that I thought was one of the biggest barriers ever. And that had stopped me from investing, thinking, I'm an accountant. I was born to be an accountant. Just stay where you are, get comfortable there. Because I kept having these barriers, these obstacle of not being able to be understood if I approach landlords. But I was thinking they're all British, they're all English, and they wouldn't understand me, stuff like that. But the thing that really helps me overcome that obstacle is, again, you've said this already, is by looking at videos, YouTube, reading books like yours, and things like that, and looking at the people that got the same color skin as me, and even accent, similar accents to me as well, and start looking at athletes like Mo Farah, Usain Bolt. I'm thinking, these guys can do it. I can absolutely do it in a smaller scale. So I can see how some beginners would struggle, but it's about just going through your fear. If you're looking to do it, go through it. The only way you can conquer fear is going through it. And I'm not here to say it's easy. right? It's hard work, but with consistency, perseverance, and commitment, getting someone to guide you along the way, it would only make you stronger and better. So thank you for sharing that with us. So in your experience, what are the key factors that contribute to success in your property investment, especially for those strategies that requires a little money to no experience?
Okay. A little money and no experience.
Little money
Yeah,
and
and
minimum experience.
okay. Well, your main barrier in this is going to be yourself. And so your biggest success is going to be the ability to take action. If you can take action, as you said, consistently, persistently, you will win. Because when we came into this, and our brains are very clever, Rahim, because your brain was telling you, oh, I can't do it because of my because I'm black, I can't do it because of my accent. But my brain's telling me something else. I can't do it because of these. I can't do it because I'm a woman. I can't do it because I'm black. Maybe in Wales they don't like black people, etc. So our brains will always find why we can't do it. There'll be other people listening to this who aren't black, who also have their own reasons that
Of
they can't
course.
do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to do this, you've got to take action. You've got to build up the belief you have in yourself to succeed.
Yeah.
And I think of it in this way: believe bigger. That's the first step. You've got to build up. And for most people, it's not a switch.
Yeah.
It's build up. You build up your belief
Mhm.
in yourself. You build up your belief in bigger goals. Believe bigger, be bolder. And that means stand up when people are saying to you in your family, you can't do this because you haven't got any experience, because remember the time when you were 3 and this thing happened, or remember the time when you were 14 and such a thing happened. You can't do this. And they're not trying, often they're not trying to make you feel bad. They're just expressing they don't think they could do it.
Yeah.
And so they're passing that on to you. And you've got to be bolder and be bold enough to stand up and say, I'm a property investor or whatever you are, and take the action steps towards it.
Wow.
And be a game changer. Be a game changer is about
Mhm.
changing the game in your own life, becoming a leader in your own life, having a
Mhm.
purpose and a vision and moving towards that vision. And you'll be shocked how all the family and people around you who were saying you couldn't do it are now asking you how you're doing it. And so you're changing the game for them as well.
Yeah, and some of them say to you, "Oh, I knew you were gonna do that." But really and truly, they were the doubters. Because I remember when I started mine, right? People were thinking I'm crazy. They're thinking, "How can you do this, bro? You can't do it." It's not for you. One, you live in a shared house. Your wife just arrived. She can barely speak English, and she's pregnant. And you're thinking of doing this and quitting your job. It's not really gonna work. But yeah, but I literally defy all the odds and said to myself, I can do it. So even the audiences, it's just about, as I said, fear. It's not a real thing. It's a perception of what people think is going to happen. It's not a real thing. So, as I said, it's just literally, if you believe in you, you could do it. If a boy that probably came from as a foster home, as a foreigner, was able to do it, that's what I tell my investors basically. If I can do it, looking at my background, you can absolutely smash it. So thanks for sharing that with us. I really, really appreciate that. So what inspired you to write the book Rent to Rent Success? And what are the main takeaway you hope readers will gain from it?
Yeah, great questions. Well, I'd always, as a little girl, been a reader, and I had the idea to do the book. And at the time, there wasn't a book out there that went step by step through the whole process. We had worked out a process, and one of the things that makes us a little bit different is that we do map things out, and we're very clear, and we've got everything written down as well as speaking it, so that people have got the exact roadmap of everything they need to do. And so that's why we wrote the book, to share that, because not everybody is in the position to take on a mentorship or to get mentored. But with the book, they've got the full 6 set system there at a very affordable price. And the biggest takeaway of the book is that if you want to do it, you can. we're big believers, my sister and I, that ethical property investment is open to anyone who wants it. And
Yeah.
something you said earlier was very powerful, because you went from being in foster care, which is a rocky start for most. You don't, you don't have the family base to spring from. You're in a different country, and all of that, what all of that does to your mind space, and yet you made a success of this. And I think that should give people so much encouragement, because it's open to anybody who wants it.
Fantastic. I love your book, by the way. I've read it. I like the way you've made it so simple. I said to a friend of mine who's been banging me to interview you, basically, because he told me about the book. He said, bro, that book, even an 8-year-old can literally pick it up and read and understand exactly what they're on about. I said, okay, brilliant. So I pick it up. It's literally a mind-blowing book, and anybody from any level can use that to better themselves. So thank you for sharing your knowledge to us.
Well, I'd love to give a free copy to anybody who would like it, and I'll give you a link afterwards.
Brilliant.
rent2rent success.com/PIB,
Okay.
and they'll be able to get a free copy of the book. But thank you for your comments, Rahim.
No problem. Welcome. What are your future goals in the property investment world, and how do you plan to continue inspiring others in this field?
Yeah. So what I want to do in property, I had another moment, you have these epiphanies every now and again. And I thought, what are we going to do? We've got all of these flats and all of these properties. We usually buy blocks of flats or convert to a block of flats. And we put that into trust. So people who struggle to get beautiful, affordable accommodation can get these properties, can use these properties, because I want this to move forwards, that everything that we built up, it'll be an educational and property trust, so people can learn how to get their own properties if they want, and they also have a lovely home that's a safe home. And I found it hard to find properties to rent when I was younger and had my young son. And so that's one part of it. And the second part is just to build up the size of the deals that we're doing. The biggest one so far was the block of 12 flats. But what we realized, compared with doing the smaller deals, the 12 was kind of, in a way, easier than doing blocks of 4. So what we want to do moving forward is find bigger deals, 24 plus units, and work on those and add them to the trust. And we still obviously mentor people in rent to rent, but we also help women over 40 to blow up their lives.
Okay, yeah.
And we've got a badass manifesto. And that's really about taking the magic of who you are, or who you used to be, and maybe have faded a bit, unleashing that badass inside of you and creating the exact life you want. So yeah, those are the things that we're doing now.
What an amazing goal. I'm having goosebumps that when you're explaining about your trust, like the idea behind it, by giving back, people that are struggling, it really brings something really personal to me, because I was one of those, looking for houses. I couldn't get it. I used to sleep in my friends' sofas and all that sort of thing. So what you're doing there is absolutely amazing. And I'm sure you will get millions and millions of reward, not just financially, but literally good deeds that comes your way for doing that. I really appreciate you for even sharing that with us. Thank you. So your enthusiasm and energy is what draws me to you. When I saw everything online about yourself, what really keeps you going without losing your enthusiasm?
Yeah, great question. I just feel ever since that day when I had that realization and that fire started burning in my belly, that it's been there. Now, I don't want everyone who's listening to this podcast to think I wake up every single day, ready to go and excited about life. I am a human as well, so I have my ups and downs. But overall, I love being in business. I love waking up and knowing that we're the controllers of our own destiny,
Mhm.
that we are creating something from nothing. We're providing an incredible service, and we're making money, and we're employing people, and we're creating these beautiful homes, and we're also helping people change their mindset and get started. So a couple of weeks ago, we had our Rent to Rent Revolution event,
Mhm.
and some of our students, past students, came back to talk about how Rent to Rent had changed their lives. And there was people from every different background, in terms of some have got a family and some haven't got a family, some are young, some are older. And I remember Maria, who is a busy mum of three. She's in IT, so she's not twiddling her thumbs. And she started this and she built up a portfolio. She got 3 more properties again, new properties last week, or the
Wow.
week before the event, rather. And she was saying that her husband was so shocked because they were doing a kitchen conversion, and you know how conversions always go over,
Yeah.
and they needed extra money, and she was giving extra money from her business that ended up over £60,000, and he
Wow.
didn't realize that the business was doing so well. And so it gives me so much heart to be able to change people's lives in that way, and just get that message out there that this is absolutely possible for us. Only 32% of Black people in the UK own their own homes, compared to 64% of white people. And I
Wow.
would love to see that change. You can absolutely own your own homes. You can absolutely buy investment properties. You can absolutely learn, do rent to rent and get started in property without buying it. There's so many options open to you. It's just incredible, this time that we live in.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. You talked about hard time when we started this interview, about your mom, or I'm definitely inspired by people who overcome hard time. Do you mind sharing a time or event that was really hard time for you and how you overcame it?
Yeah, I think I think when my son was little, I felt so bad because I wanted to do the best for him, but I was really struggling for money. And when I look back on it now, it's just like a different world, because when I go to the supermarket now, I do not look on the price before I put the things in my basket. And um I choose what I would like to have. And I used to go to the supermarket with my purse. People mainly paid cash in those days. There was no smartphones. I would actually take a calculator with me because they would change the price, and I would not want to be left in short. And I used to budget to the pennies, because it would be such and such, such and such, and so many pence was for this and that. And I would have the money in cash. I used to go to the post office, queue up for income support, £92 a week, sorry, a fortnight. And then, you would have to do your shopping and pay your bills and everything, and on that little money. And I don't want to make it seem like this is some terrible thing, because so many people go through that.
Yeah,
And now we're in the recession, so many people are going through that again.
yeah.
And so it's even more important now than ever to take steps, instead of buying, an iPhone or a bigger television or this or that, investing in creating another stream of income.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you for sharing that with us. Really, really appreciate that. Let's get to the quick fire round questions now. Are you ready for this?
Yes,
Let's
yes,
do
I'm
it.
ready.
Right. What's advice you remember receiving?
What advice? Oh my gosh. The only thing I can think of now is, I don't want to be somebody else's bitch. Excuse me.
Best advice you remember receiving?
I don't want to be somebody else's bitch. Don't be somebody else's bitch.
Okay. Your biggest regret?
Not starting sooner.
Is there something you believe that lots of people disagree with?
Lots of people disagree that you can be successful in property.
What is the best book you've ever read or listened to?
The Slight Edge.
Does money change you?
Yes, I was going to say no, but I think it does change you. I think you could become more of who you are because you don't have to worry. Like when I didn't have money, I had to spend so much time worrying and fretting about this and that. I didn't feel like relaxed in my life. But when you're relaxed in your life, you can make bigger goals. You feel more content. You feel more confident. I think there's a level of money, which is not that high, that does increase your contentment. But I think beyond that, it doesn't change you as much. Some of the nice things that you think will be nice are nice, like loving the place where you live, going on nicer holidays, driving a fancy car. I've now got a Porsche. All of those things are great. But the top things in my life that give me that buzz every day are seeing other people succeed with the work that we're doing, um, seeing other people succeed, knowing that we're going to have this trust in place, seeing my family and being able to pass all this on to them. Not the properties, but the knowledge. So my son's already investing in property. He's also investing in the stock market. He's already going to have his own assets, and he's going to be able to pass all that knowledge on to his own kids.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those are the things that make me happy.
Good. Is there something you used to strongly believe you recently changed your mind on?
Oh, there's so many things I changed my mind on. But is there something I strongly believe that eating. We were talking about this before.
Yeah.
I strongly believed that going low meat was more healthy. But certain things I've come about the nutrient density of meat and thinking about the way our ancestors used to eat makes me understand now that a meat-based diet is the most healthy one, especially as you're getting older and you need to keep up your muscles.
Fantastic. Thank you. Is there something in the world you fundamentally think is wrong and you'd like to change?
I just think it's just the negativity. We're also focused on negativity. Our human brains go to why we can't, what's wrong with us. And what I would love to see is just more teaching in schools about how to think positively, how to get the best results out of your own self and your own brain with your thinking.
Fantastic. This podcast is called Property Investment Blueprint Podcast. What does Property Investment Blueprint means to you?
It means a step-by-step method for property investment success.
Wow, that's the best summary I've ever had. Thank you for doing that. So, final question. If there was only one person you'd love me to interview, who would that person be and why?
Well, I'm just going to say who's on the tip of my tongue because I've been listening to a lot of podcasts of Ryan Pineda, and he's an American real estate investor, as they call it over there. And yeah, it'd be great to see an interview with him.
Fantastic. I will work on that. What an amazing way to end the podcast. That was an absolutely great special moment with you, Stephanie. Really appreciate that. If someone is interested in joining your program, how will they contact you? Where should we follow you? And where are you hanging out on social media?
Amazing. So I'm at renttoRentSuccess.com. That's our website. If you want to get a free copy of the book, renttoRentSuccess.com/PIB for Property Investment Blueprint. And we're on all of the channels at Rent to Rent Success, Instagram, TikTok, and all the places.
Wow. Thank you, Stephanie. I really appreciate you having on. You've given us so much inspiration. Thank you for helping people transform their life through property investment. And it's been an absolute pleasure having you on Property Investment Blueprint Podcast.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rahim. It's been a pleasure to be on.
Thank you.